Hello and welcome back to my channel and to Table for One, the cooking show for solo cooks who want to make their dinners extra delicious while still being super duper easy. Today I want to share with you 3 different tray bake dinners. So everything is cooked on one tray, you pop it in the oven, you let it do its thing, and dinner is sorted really without very much effort at all. So I'm going to tell you about 2 of my favourites and then I'm going to show you a new recipe for a 3rd one. Okay, so the recipe that I want to share with you today is for a sausage tray bake with chickpeas, peppers, and tomatoes. I feel like the really nice thing about a tray bake is that you can kind of make it with whatever you have in the fridge. So if you have 1 or 2 main ingredients, so for example, chickpeas and sausages in this one, you could actually switch up the vegetables. It doesn't have to be peppers, it doesn't have to be tomatoes. You could use courgettes or aubergines, whatever's in season, whatever you have in the fridge. And then at the end, I'm gonna show you a couple of different kind of saucy toppings to go with your tray bake. Just having a couple of ideas for tray bakes is really handy. If it's a weeknight and you don't really know what you want to cook, you can kind of make a tray bake out of anything, which is one reason that I love them. So as I say, this is going to be a sausage and chickpea tray bake. So I've got some good quality pork sausages, but you could so easily use a vegetarian sausage, a beef sausage, a chicken sausage. The only thing you would have to be aware of is like if it was a chipolata instead of a fat sausage, it would take less time to cook. So that's the only thing that you just need to have in mind. Then I'm using chickpeas. I think I've spoken about this brand before, but this is Bold Bean, not sponsored, just a big fan. These are the most incredible quality chickpeas you will ever try. The juice itself that they're cooked in, the stock that they're cooked in, is also really delicious. So we're gonna be using that in the recipe so that we don't let anything go to waste. If you don't like chickpeas, you could use any other bean or pulse. So you could use butter beans or cannellini beans, or you could use a lentil. Cooking times just might vary slightly. So we're actually not adding these in until a little bit later on anyway, because I don't actually want a crispy chickpea here. Crispy chickpea is nice for something else, but in this tray bake I want them to be nice and soft and tender. So yeah, that's the only thing you have to bear in mind, is you might want to add them slightly earlier or slightly later depending on the bean or pulse that you use. My vegetables of choice today are a red pepper and some beautiful vine tomatoes. I really like how this looks, so you kind of get a beautiful red sauciness from these cooking down with garlic and a little bit of lemon, and then with the stock of the chickpeas, it creates, yeah, something that's a little bit juicier, because I hate a dry tray bake. I hate a dry anything. I like my food to be saucy in at least one way. Maybe that's the northerner in me, but I don't want dry food ever. As I said, switch this up if you want. Courgettes would work really nicely. Aubergine would work really nicely. You could easily add potatoes to this if you wanted to bulk it out even more. You could also serve this with rice, or even pasta, to be fair, would be really nice with this, just kind of mixed through at the end. I'm just doing this for now. The prep will honestly take about 10 minutes, if that. The rest of the time it's just cooking away in the oven, and then at the end we're just gonna drizzle over something saucy, and that's it. It's such an easy low prep meal. First things first, we're just gonna put the oven on to preheat while we prep the rest of our ingredients. You want it on fairly high to get a little bit of kind of char and caramelization on the tomatoes and the sausages. So it's on 220 degrees C in a normal oven, 200 degrees fan. Prep time, all we're gonna do is chop our little vine tomatoes in half and slice up our peppers and chop our garlic. And that's honestly it. I'm using vine tomatoes because they have such a good flavour compared to tomatoes that are sold off the vine. And I love little cherry tomatoes, plum tomatoes. There's a really gorgeous variety called a Sundream tomato, which is very sweet, and they are a really gorgeous flavour. You could use tin tomatoes for this, so you could use sort of half a tin of good quality chopped tomatoes. Let me show you my favourite ones. Whoa. The brand is called Mutti. They are Italian tomatoes, and these are finely chopped, so it's almost more like a passata. The flavour of these is honestly incredible. So if you couldn't find fresh tomatoes, then you could use this instead, and In the same way that these will kind of cook down and get a bit jammy in the tray bake, I mean, this is already cooked down and slightly jammy in a way. So you could use that instead and it would just be a saucier tray bake, but there is nothing wrong with that. And the other good thing about a tray bake is that obviously everything I do is single serve for one person, but everybody's portion sizes are different and it can be hard to say exactly how much of something you want when everybody eats different amounts. And the good thing about a tray bake is that the quantities don't really matter as much because everything's getting cooked down and everything's getting sliced the same size, if that makes sense. So if you like a big portion, you can add more. The type of vegetable that you're using might just have a slightly different cooking time. So for example, a potato will take a lot longer to cook than a red pepper, for example. So if you're switching this up and not using the vegetables that I'm using in this recipe, then you might just want to put a couple things in first. So if you were doing a potato and leek tray bake, you would want to put the potatoes in first for a bit just to kind of get them going so that the leeks don't burn, because if you put everything in at once, the potatoes will be raw, the leeks will be burnt, and nobody wants a burnt raw dinner. Here, all of the vegetables are going to take a similar amount of time to cook, so we can put them all in together. Bob is your uncle, Fanny is your aunt. I think I'm going to use half a pepper. That's about 100 grams of tomatoes. This half I would use for another recipe, so I've got lots of red pepper recipes in my book and on my website. One of my favourites is a pasta alla peperonata, which is slow cooked peppers with a little bit of vinegar, and it's kind of sweet and tangy and the most incredible pasta. It's a red pepper. I have loads of recipes of red pepper. You can find them on my website and you can search by the ingredients, so that should be easy enough. Right, and then the only other thing we need to prep is a little bit of garlic, which I absolutely hate doing. I hate chopping garlic. It needs to be done if we want nice tasting food, which we definitely do. I'm just going to finely chop this, and it shouldn't burn because I'm going to be using like a decent amount of oil, plus the juices from the tomatoes will kind of stop anything getting too dry, which is not what we want for this specific dish. That's done. That's literally basically all of the prep. Now you need a tray. I'm using this one, which is, I actually don't know the size. I think this is about a 20 centimeter tin, and it's got slightly higher sides rather than being a completely flat tray. If you only have a flat tray, that's absolutely fine. I want this one to be slightly higher because it will keep some of the kind of heat and steam in, which will soften the tomatoes and the peppers without them getting too dry and crispy. So into the tray we go, and then we're going to season and pop it in the oven. Right. Do you know what? Maybe I want a couple more tomatoes in there, now that I'm looking at it. This is the beauty of a tray bake. Adapt and overcome. The only thing I want to add now is olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of a dried herb. Olive oil, a good drizz. Salt, preferably sea salt, because if you've watched my video about my trip to a French sea salt farm, you will know that sea salt is better for you than rock salt because it has more minerals, because rock salt is dead, but sea salt is still alive when it's harvested. And if you get a hand harvested sea salt, then it doesn't go through the process of being boiled to extract the salt from the water. It's just naturally extracted using the sun and the wind, which again keeps all the nutrients in it. If you want to know more about that, then watch the video, which I will link here or here. Here. Toss, toss. Toss, toss. Come to my herb cupboard. Wow, so many options. What do I want today? Do I want oregano or do I want thyme? I think I want rosemary. Dried rosemary is quite a powerful herb, so you don't need a whole lot. Une crack. We are going to lay the sausages in. One other nice thing about this is that as it cooks, some of the fat from the sausages will kind of be rendered out and go into the pan and flavour all the vegetables, add to the sauciness and be delicious. We're going to let this cook until the sausages are basically done. I will turn them and toss everything together halfway through, and then we are going to add the chickpeas at the end along with a couple of finishing touches to really bring this to life. But for now, into the oven. Let's go 25 minutes and I will toss halfway through. Okay, let's talk toppings. So, as I say, this is a really great chance to be super versatile. Just kind of play to your own preferences. Because the flavors in the actual Traybake themselves are very versatile, they can kind of go with lots of things. You can take this in lots of different routes. So you could go down a very Mediterranean route with the tomatoes and the peppers and drizzle it with a pesto. One option would be to use my chimichurri pesto, which is a sauce I have created in collaboration with Sorcerer, who are an amazing brand who make the most insane quality sauces, all proper ingredients, no nasties, no preservatives, etc, etc. We created this chimichurri pesto in a handy 1 portion size, although depending on what you're making, you can get a couple of portions out of this, but it's much smaller than a regular jar. This is kind of a hybrid chimichurri and pesto, so whereas a traditional pesto has nuts and cheese and is very basil forward, this one actually doesn't have nuts and cheese, so it is vegan, so anybody can eat this. But it has coriander, a little bit of parsley, it's got a touch of vinegar. So it's not a traditional chimichurri, but it definitely draws inspiration from that. Mixes it with a traditional pesto and finds a gorgeous little hybrid in between. So this would be delicious drizzled on top of the Traybake. You could also go down a slightly creamier route and use tahini with yogurt. So literally just combining a natural or a Greek yogurt with about a tablespoon of tahini, maybe a squeeze of lemon. You could add a bit of honey, mix it all together and you get the most delicious, creamy, slightly nutty yogurt, because tahini is just sesame seeds. So sesame seeds blended up like peanut butter, but with sesame seeds. It's much runnier than a peanut butter. Let me show you. You can see it's quite drizzly. You could easily drizzle tahini over. It works really well with a yogurt, something acidic, something sweet. And on that note, you could also make a harissa yogurt or a harissa oil. So again, harissa paste is a kind of North African, Middle Eastern spice paste, so mostly made from chili. You could mix this with yogurt and make a harissa yogurt, and the heat from this and the kind of cooling creaminess of the yogurt will work really nicely together. Or you could just add this to a bit of olive oil and drizzle that over the top. Really delicious. Also works really well with lemon and honey. You can kind of choose and adapt based on what you want. And then the final thing that I always recommend is a fresh herb. So basil, parsley, coriander, chives would all work really, really well. Depending on kind of what you're going for, what vibe you're going for, you can choose your herb. But herbs just bring a freshness and a vibrancy to all dishes. But when it's something baked like this and it's a little bit, I wouldn't say this dish is heavy, but I think because of the kind of fattiness of the pork sausages and a little bit of the olive oil, having something bright and herbaceous to kind of cut through those flavors really, really lifts and elevates the whole dish. And so this is kind of a good opportunity to think about those flavor profiles. So if you think sweet, salty, what are the others? Sweet, salty, umami, sour, bitter. You can kind of choose, you don't have to use all of them, but you can kind of choose a couple. So let's say I was going to be using lemon juice, you could also add a bit of honey, so you have the sourness and the sweetness. Or you can think about it in a different way, which is the kind of elements of cooking, which are salt, fat, acid, and heat. The heat refers to the cooking, so obviously this is being roasted, and we're gonna get a nice kind of a caramelization on the sausages and the tomatoes. The salt we've got from the salt, but you could also get that from other things. So something like in Asian food, like a soy sauce is obviously really salty. We're not using that here, we've just used regular salt. But if you're thinking about the principles of cooking, there are other ways to get salt that isn't just plain salt. Then you've got your fat and your acid, which I think are kind of two really important things to think about when thinking about almost like a dressing, which is kind of what these toppings are. So the fat from the sausages and the olive oil need an acid to balance them. So lemon works well. This chimichurri pesto has an acidity to it. You could also add vinegar. So harissa, I would maybe add a tablespoon of vinegar to go with it. So it all just kind of balances each other out, if that makes sense. And I feel like when you kind of understand those principles of cooking, you can then apply that to other different flavors. And that's when you can become a more intuitive cook. Anyway, that was a bit of a ramble, sorry. I actually haven't decided what we're gonna do today. Will, what do you fancy on your sausage Traybake? Do you want chimichurri? Do you want a spicy harissa? Do you want a tahini yogurt? Tell me. I think you want a chimichurri.
I was actually going to say chimmy.
I knew you. I knew it. Fine. Today we'll go with a chimichurri, maybe a little bit of fresh basil to go with that some lemon zest, and that will create a gorgeous, zingy, zesty, vibrant topping. The rest of you, whoa, can go back in the fridge where you belong. While that is baking, I want to tell you about 2 other easy tray bake dinners. I've done quite a few on my channel and in my book, but these are 2 of my favorites. So first up, we have a Harissa chicken couscous tray bake, and I love this one because you start with roasted vegetables similar to this. As always, you can kind of switch out, change it up what you have. And then we're using chicken thighs, which are coated in a spicy harissa paste. So obviously I just told you about harissa. This is a chicken thigh coated in harissa. That is baked with the roasted vegetables until the chicken thighs are almost done. And then we take them out, we sprinkle over some couscous and a little bit of stock, and that soaks up, oh, the timer. Where was I? The couscous then soaks up all of the flavour from the chicken juices and the roasted vegetables. That kind of cooks and finishes off in the oven, and then you top everything with feta and fresh herbs. And it's so comforting, so flavourful, a little bit spicy, but still fresh. Such a great tray bake to have on hand. You could easily swap the couscous for rice if you prefer, or if you're gluten-free. The harissa you could switch out for something else, so you could use a curry paste, you could use your own spice blend, or with a little bit of honey in it maybe, so it goes a bit sticky. The feta kind of cuts through everything at the end, and it's just such a great, easy dish and very cozy for the kind of autumn, winter months. And then the second dish that I want to talk to you about is a chorizo, corn and courgette gnocchi. So obviously when you think of gnocchi, you normally think of kind of boiled, soft, slightly kind of chewy little balls of potato-y pasta. Here, instead of boiling them, we bake them in the oven so they get really crispy, and it works so well with roasted courgette. The chorizo in there releases its oil and its flavor and kind of spices everything nicely. This is such a good dish. I love roasting gnocchi, and actually I think I prefer it to kind of boiled gnocchi now because it has a little bit more textural diversity. Such an easy one. You bang everything on a tray or in a pan, you shove it in the oven, you let it do its thing, and you have a really, really delicious dinner ready to go. The tray bake has been in for 25 minutes, so I'm gonna take it out, toss it all around and pop it back in for about another 25 minutes because we want to make sure that we get the nice color on the sausages and the tomatoes. It's already looking delicious. And you see how it's still kind of juicy. Nothing's getting too dry. It's all just looking nice and moist. That's kind of beautiful though, isn't it, really? I think so. Toss everything together. The tomatoes are gonna start to break down, which is absolutely fine because it's gonna make a nice little sauce. What I like about cutting the peppers into this shape is that they stay like that. They're not gonna break down, so you get a little bit more bite in your peppers. So it's literally just a super quick toss. Turn the sausages over so we get the caramelization on both sides. Back into the oven. Okay, so the tray bake has had about 50 minutes in the oven. I'm gonna get it out and I'm just gonna add in the chickpeas and the chimichurri and some lemon juice. Oh my gosh, yum. So as you can see, the sausages have got a lovely caramelization, but also you've got a really nice caramelization from the tomatoes and the pepper. And once you add in the chickpeas, essentially that's gonna pick up all of those flavor pockets, bring it all together into a really flavor packed base. In with the chickpeas. I actually can't tell you how delicious these chickpeas are. I could eat them and do eat them from the jar with a spoon. Once you go bold bean, you don't go back. A little bit more juice. I'm also gonna add in a bit of chimichurri pesto. Now, the last thing I'm gonna do is a squeeze of lemon juice, about half a lemon. And this balances really nicely with the sweetness of the tomatoes and the pepper. And then I'm just going to toss everything together and then pop it back in the oven just for the last bit. Okay, it is ready. Whoa, get a load of that. As you can see, it's still saucy, which also means this is really nice served with a bit of bread to mop it up. I'm gonna plate it up into my little bowl. I'm gonna top with some fresh basil and a final drizzle of chimichurri pesto. And that is our one tray sausage and chickpea tray bake done. And there we have it, a beautiful sausage and chickpea tray bake with roasted tomatoes and peppers. I don't know about you, but I think that looks absolutely bloody gorgeous, and I am very excited to eat this. I think finishing it off with the fresh herbs and the chimichurri is just the perfect ending. Let's give it a little try. That is delicious and so versatile. Completely delicious. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you subscribe for more recipes for solo cooks or anybody wanting easy, delicious dinners. You can also subscribe to my Substack newsletter to make sure that you never miss a recipe. There's also exclusive recipes for paid subscribers on there if you fancy it. And if not, then I will see you next week for the next video. Tonight, Rachel, I'm gonna be... You can choose your own sausage, whatever you like. I can't whistle. Did you know that? Right. Whoa, that was loud. Well, I can't get my hand in. You're fired. I'm sweating. Amen, brother.